Hello there. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing how poor financial literacy can impact you as an individual. It's an important message, so stay tuned. So, poor financial literacy is going to impact your stability. It's going to impact your vulnerability. You become more vulnerable. It's going to impact your opportunities, your relationships, and yes, your mindset impacts it, but it impacts your mindset, right? It's this cyclical feeding cycle. All those things we'll explain and talk about next. We all hear the stories. It could be a medical bill. It could be the plant that you worked in. So growing up in Maine, we've had lots of paper mills and all. And when a paper mill closed down, which employed most of the town, people thrown out of work, and all of a sudden, if there's been no planning for the unexpected, there's been no understanding that this may happen, that loss of the stability can have a huge impact, not just on you, your kids, your relationship, the community at large. Financial literacy helps you plan, right? It helps you try to prepare for best for those. And the very barest minimum, financial literacy helps you understand that even if you were unprepared, maybe you were young and you didn't really have time to prepare, financial literacy helps you by understanding how wealth is created in the first place so you can then rebound. So whether it's medical bills, the loss of a job, being not insured properly, so you lose your home, any of those crises, shocking crises, can have a detrimental impact on your emotional and financial stability. Financial literacy will better prepare you for dealing with any of those situations. So along with stability is vulnerability, that they are connected, right? A unexpected event destabilizes you and makes you vulnerable. So when you don't really have that full concept of how to manage your budget, you're building up debt, uh, you aren't investing, you aren't saving for the unexpected, you don't properly prepare for insurance and other things, then when these situations, these sometimes tragic situations happen, like a home fire, not only does it destabilizes you, you become emotionally and sometimes even physically vulnerable to these events, right? The vulnerability can have a huge toll on you and your relationships, the family relationships, your immediate friend relationship, and how you handle those can be directly related to financial literacy. And part of financial literacy, which we'll be talking about later, is your mindset. When financial literacy is done well, right, you are better prepared for any of those inevitable things with a right amount of savings, investment money that you can rely on, understanding of other streams of income, of proper insurance, and any of those things. But most importantly, you also have this idea of mindset. All of this helps you become less vulnerable. When you don't have it, you become more vulnerable. Another thing that we want to encourage you to think about is how not having financial literacy background and understanding limits your opportunity. Because when you get stuck in the emotions of living day to day, which a vast majority of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck, day to day, you you put blinders on and you don't see opportunities, or you are fearful of being able to take them because of the risk, in part because of what you have not been able to do to prepare. So you are relying on this this paycheck, this income, and you might have another opportunity that requires a little bit of risk, maybe even stepping outside that comfort zone and the potential loss of what you already have. And because you don't have that big picture of how it all works, you either choose not to take advantage of that opportunity, you don't even see it, right? There's, if you were to take the words opportunity is, and then now here, you put them all together, right? So there's no spaces in between. You ask somebody to read that. The vast majority of people will read it as opportunity is nowhere instead of opportunity is now here. And that's what happens when you don't have financial literacy, is you read it as opportunity is nowhere instead of opportunity is now here. And that's what a huge benefit of having financial literacy and a huge detriment by not having it. Financial challenges are stressful. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have, right? When you make mistakes and you find yourself under financial pressure, it creates stress. And the more vulnerable you are, the more destabilized you have become because of your lack of financial literacy, the greater the levels of stress. And with that stress comes relationship challenges. And money is a huge issue and one of the leading causes of divorce, right? Infidelity and financials. So the relationship aspect, and there's a lot of research. There's a book called, it's based on a longitudinal study on happiness done by Harvard University. And it shows that the greatest factor in how you report your happiness is the quality of your relationships. And when you are experiencing this level of financial stress that often comes when you don't have the financial literacy to properly manage your money and understand the whole process, that increases the level of stress and hurts the quality of the relationships and impacts your health and your happiness. What's going to drive a lot of this? Again, I emphasize this all the time. Obviously, I'm the Champions Mindset Mentor, right? It's mindset. This is why I preach about the power and the importance of mindset all the time, because it impacts every area of your life. So in finances, what you believe about money, what you believe about wealth, what you believe about poverty, what you have brought from your past family experiences all tie into this. Let me give you an example of a business coach I have, right? His grandparents escaped Cuba, Fidel Castro's Cuba. And he grew up as a young boy hearing the stories of how his father, who had been a barber, has the army come into his barber shop. Who owns this? Who owns this barber shop? I do. Not anymore. Government's taken over. You're going to go work in the fields. And they took his barber shop, and he had to start going to work in the fields. And this young grandson, after he was able to escape Cuba and come to Florida, told that story. So the young boy had this fear of losing money that was kind of handed down to him. This fear impacted him. And his solution was to accumulate as much money and do everything to keep it. And sometimes in his own admittance, right, he'll tell you that he wasn't necessarily the nicest person. He was driven so hard on the people who worked for him as he built his own entrepreneurial powerhouse. It was because of his mindset around money that had been handed down from his grandparents. So we got to understand this is all part of mindset. It's all part of doing our soul searching. There's ways to let go of that. It's important to recognize that all of that. And that's that mindset aspect of financial literacy that is so very important. Well, that wraps up another video. And as always, I do encourage you to subscribe to the channel, because when you subscribe, it helps get the word out. And there are people out here who who need to hear that. And you can really join me in this mission about getting this valuable information out there. In particular, you might be interested in checking out the video, What is the Purpose of Financial Literacy? So check that out today, then come back and watch another.